Good morning still. My name is Terrence Patterson, and welcome to the October 17th meeting of the Rules, Policy, and Governance Committee of the Tennessee Public Charter School Commission. This meeting is being recorded and will be available after its conclusion via link on the Commission's website. As a reminder, please make sure that your microphone is on prior to speaking, making a motion, or voting. Chase, could you please take a roll call vote of the commissioners?
Commissioner Levine
Here.
is present. Commissioner Tucker
Here.
is present. Chairman Patterson
Here.
is present. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Great. Our first agenda item we will vote to update Commission Policy 1.100. Our second item will be a vote on the Commission's new LEA Policy 4805. Are there any comments on the agenda before we vote to approve? Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Actually, Chase, do we need to take a vote, or is that voice vote okay? Okay, so that carries. Next item is the approval of the minutes to the July 27, 2022 meeting. The minutes of the committee meeting held on July 27, 2022 have been provided. Does anyone have any edits to make prior?
I'd move the approval of the minutes.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That carries as well. Let's move to the first item on the agenda today, which is the discussion and vote on Commission policy on final reading. This policy was discussed by the committee in our July meeting on first reading, and I'd now like to recognize our General Counsel, Ashley Thomas, to describe this updated policy to the committee.
Thank you, Chairman. As you stated, I'm Ashley Thomas, General Counsel for the Commission. This policy is being presented for for final reading, Commission Policy 1.100. As we explained at our July meeting, this policy was updated to include language surrounding commission member absences, and we distinguish between excused versus unexcused absences. There were no additional updates after that first reading, and so I'll answer any questions before you all move to send that to the full commission for vote.
Commissioners, are there any additional comments before we recommend adoption of Commission Policy 1.100?
I'd move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I think that vote carries. Let's move to the last item on our agenda today, which is a presentation on LEA Policy 4805 from Ashley Thomas. I'd like to again recognize Ashley to review this policy.
Thank you. LEA Policy 4805 was drafted to ensure the Commission's compliance with TCA 496-1012. This policy would be a directive to our Commission-authorized schools that serve grades 7 through 12. This policy requires our schools to develop and adopt an academic acceleration policy for the enrollment of any of its students in their available advanced classes. The language of the policy before the committee sets forth the parameters that should exist in the school's policy, because as you know, we give them sort of the guardrails, but we don't give them the details of what their policy needs to say. But we did include language that their policy must include parental notifications as well as any removal requirements. I will stop here for any questions of the committee.
Any questions
Yeah, I just have a.
or comments?
Did you have? Well, this is sort of a permissive policy which says if a student meets the requirements for advanced courses, the parent should be notified that they're ill. Does it? I may be getting way ahead of my skis on this, but is there another approach to this where they're, I hate to say it this way, but they're automatically enrolled in the advanced courses unless they opt out? I mean, should it not be our policy that if a student is eligible for advanced placement, we want them to be there, right, or no?
So as far as what our policy stated, and I think that goes back to me saying that our language tells our schools to develop that policy, and if that school wants to include that language, I think our policy allows them to do that as an individual school. For us to advise that as a commission, I'd have to defer to the will of the committee.
Well, I'm asking the members. I mean, I just, that's a big deal policy question I'm asking. Is it our goal to encourage students to be accelerated and in advanced courses, and they can opt out, versus just telling them they're eligible, and then what? Do those students miss the opportunity to be in accelerated courses? I don't know. Obviously, ultimately, it's the parent's decision.
That was
But-
where I was going to
Well,
go
I mean,
with that.
well, either way, it's the same thing. It's the parent's decision. One is the parent can opt them out of an accelerated course. The other is they can opt them in. Either way, it's the parent's decision.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and I think if a school had that policy, then if I was a parent at that school, I would learn to live within that policy. But I think us requiring schools to have that as a policy gives me a little bit of pause. And actually, I think about my own kids. I try to do that on here. And if my daughter tested with the TCAP, did a great job in TCAP, and tested up to algebra, which would not happen, by the way, but if she did, I would want to at least have the conversation with her about, I mean, school right now, we've got 4 or 5 tests a week. There's a lot happening. And so I think being placed in an accelerated class in a particular subject is a little more, it's a little less obvious of whether you should or shouldn't do it, depending on the student's interests, needs. Like my daughter, what if she hates math, but she scored really high on the TCAP? Do I want to push her to go to algebra? Absolutely. Do I want the school to enroll her in that, and then I have to come and unenroll her if she and I mean,
Well, let me rephrase my question. Would it not make sense? I hear clearly there's not a overwhelming majority consensus on this committee for what I'm saying, but what I'm trying to say is to notify the parents that unless you object, your child is going to be placed in this accelerated course because they qualify. I'm not saying enroll them. I'm saying notify the parents that we plan to, unless you notify us that that's not what you wish for your child. At the end of the day, it's the parent's choice. Everything you just described would happen either way.
Well-
Either they're qualified and you're going to have a discussion about whether or not to enroll them, or they're going to be enrolled and you discuss whether or not they should be enrolled. But it's kind of a moot point. At the end of the day, it is a parent's decision. My leaning is if too many kids perhaps get left behind and not exposed to these accelerated courses, and sometimes it's because the parents aren't as engaged. Now, I mean, but other times it's maybe the student isn't motivated. So the question is that the best thing for the student? But I do not hear an overwhelming amount of support for what I'm suggesting, so I will let it die there.
I will say, I do
I can read my
support-
audience.
I support the idea of students being advised that they have access to accelerated classes. I mean, some schools may not have any of these accelerated classes either. You don't know what they have, what the options are. So, yeah,
I don't think this language, it doesn't preclude a school from doing what you just said. So I think the words eligibility to enroll could be interpreted either way. So I guess with that, is there a
I'll
motion?
move the policy as written, as presented.
second.
Okay, could we take a vote? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That carries. So thanks, General Counsel Thomas, for that. And thank you all for your attendance and participation at the meeting of the Rules, Policy, and Governance Committee of the Tennessee Public Charter School Commission. At this time, I'd like to ask if there are any final comments.
No.
Thank you. The next, well, I guess we
Move to adjourn.
need to
I
move to adjourn. Is there a second?
If I don't, then we just get to sit here. Is
I
that-
guess I could second.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That vote carries. Thank you. The next meeting of the Rules, Policy, and Governance Committee is scheduled for January 26th, 2023. We are adjourned.
All right, so we have our lunch break. Lunch is on the 8th floor. We will reconvene for our commission meeting, part 1, at 1 p.m. And knowing the chair, we will start at 1 p.m. sharp. Chase, what can we leave? Okay.